A very good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for staying on with us. Indeed, if you did, and you heard what MP Ling just shared with us, there were many anecdotes that are extremely helpful. And by the way, if you didn't catch it, there are grants. Ladies and gentlemen, there's money to help you along the way. Now, it is my great pleasure indeed to moderate this panel of exemplary women leaders and entrepreneurs. And we hope that this conversation that we have here amongst you is just the beginning, because our intent is to spark conversations that will go beyond this session. Now, it gives me great pleasure to kick off the session by addressing particularly to two of our women entrepreneurs on the panel. Now, it was mentioned just now that manufacturing, and particularly those that are associated with STEM, have traditionally been male-dominated. So this is for Phyllis and Joyce. You are in indeed an industry which is, correctly characterized that way. How have you seen the role of women evolve in this sector, and what unique strengths do women bring to the table? So, shall we start off with Joyce? All right.
Okay, afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be in the panel with a group of dynamic women leaders here. So let me share my personal journey on manufacturing. There has been significant involvement over the last 2 decades since I've joined the manufacturing industry. The number of females in engineering and leadership positions were much fewer than today. Typical meetings with customers will be all males, except occasional one female engineer or manager. Females in the manufacturing sector, as Ms. Yeo has shared earlier, are a lot on the production floor, admin, finance roles, and quality control roles. There are some roles like tool makers and injection molding technician in my industry that I do not see any female applicants throughout my hiring experience. And probably it's due to the nature of the job, having to deal with heavy machinery, heavy tools, and grease. However, there's been an increase in the number of females in leadership positions since. Now my company, Watson, has 51% females to males ratio in both management positions, as well as overall employment ratio for both plants in China and Singapore. These are exciting times for women. There are many more opportunities for women to be in leadership positions as more people welcome women leaders. Plus, there's greater emphasis on gender diversity for board and leadership roles. One of the 17 UN SDG, which is Sustainable Development Goals, is achieving gender equality. There are definitely many more female CEOs compared to 20 years ago, but we still need more improvements to reach that gender equality role. Unique strengths, I feel that females tend to be more nurturing, meticulous, and more collaborative. Just quoting my personal observation is some males in certain technical positions in my industry, such as tool makers, can be difficult to work with in terms of knowledge sharing. And I find that a sizable number of females possess very strong determination. They work harder to prove their capabilities. And on the point of nurturing, fun fact for you, my friend Phyllis even cooks breakfast for her staff. So I'll be taking a queue number to try her breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those who do not know Phyllis, thank you so much, Joyce. For those who do not know Phyllis, I think you heard her mention during Minister's speech this morning. She is chairing our Women in Manufacturing Committee. And indeed, I echo his words, support her, okay? But over to you, Phyllis.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, my focus when I saw the question that Audrey has prepared, right, is actually more on how women can be a better influence in the area of decision making. Because this is a very wide topic. So I decided to focus more on the role of women in areas of leadership and influence at the decision making table. I think the way that in today's VUCA world, there are too many areas to consider when I'm making decision. Maybe decades ago, decision making tend to be, you can call it, well, it's data-driven. It can be very objective, but things are moving so fast that it is not so simple for decisions to be made wisely without getting a more comprehensive and holistic manner, especially in the areas of people. And I think that for the area of people, perhaps female leaders tend to have different views to many male, and that doesn't mean that it can also by itself make the best decision. But having more female at the table to discuss with the male leaders, I think can offer both parties a more holistic view to what can be more, I would say, critical, and yet also, I think, holistic in the end result. So in Armstrong, our core leadership team, we have 6 people, 3 male, 3 female. Then at the managerial level, half male, half female also. Okay? So we do not think that manufacturing is male-dominated. In Armstrong, we're half-half, right? But there are certain things that I think need to change. For example, we serve half Japanese customers and half, American and European. And in the olden days, you need to lim jiu. You need to drink a lot, right? So we are also making changes so that as times change, you don't need people to, over-entertain. You do need to entertain some, but not to overdo that, so that even our female leaders, right, whether they are mothers or, and all that, they are comfortable playing that kind of leadership role. And then our customers and our suppliers are also more educated, because we also want our workers' health, which is my personal passion, health to be in a better state. So we will manage that with a bit more moderate way of how relationships can be built on many different platforms, including even the quality of conversation that can happen. So I think it is my personal endeavor also to push and for the Committee of Women in Manufacturing, our single mission is to inspire women towards leadership in manufacturing. And I think it is time for women to start asking yourself just 2 words. Why not? Can I get a hands of women who's willing to just ask yourself, why not? Why not? Why not? And can I get the support of men that when a woman say why not, you're open to that? Can I get the support of male leaders, please? Thank you. Over to you, Audrey.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Phyllis, for rallying the crowd. Indeed, talking about the team and the board, in my firm, in fact, the women are 2/3 on the board, and the men put up their hands in surrender. No. I completely agree with you. I think that very often it allows for a more holistic discussion. I think those were the key words we get here. We also recognize that sometimes women tend to, if I may say, underestimate the ability to lead. And so this dovetails very well onto my next question. When we talk about diversity of leadership, I'll start off with Ms. Ling here and then over to Tun Kim. What are your thoughts of women in leadership roles today influencing particularly the decision-making process, so to Phyllis' point, and also the culture of a company?
There was a book that I read, or my husband passed me the book to read, and it was actually called A Leader Without a Title. And I actually think leadership comes in all levels, and in all forms, and in all shapes and sizes. And I would say there was one program that we ran in particular in NTUC that was very successful, and it was actually the Women Supporting Women Mentorship Program. We started about maybe 3 years ago with this, and we worked with the constituencies, to find our union leaders, to get our grassroots leaders to come together to mentor women who actually wanted to come back to the workplace. And we knew that women, sometimes, after taking a hiatus of 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and particularly I think, they do this because of caregiving or their children's, education. Sometimes they might feel a little bit not so confident. They might feel that their skill sets are not totally on point with what's happening now. They might feel that, I spent the last 10 years, right, talking to little kids, and then now you want me to go back to workplace and talk to adults, maybe I a little bit cannot. But I believe that most of the time, this has to do with the own glass ceilings in your own mind. And I believe that one of the best ways is actually to talk this through with other women, especially other women who have actually gone through that journey. And this program that we had, the Women Supporting Women program, garnered a lot of mentors. I think, right, within a short space of just 1 year, we had over 200 mentors who raised their hands, said, why not? Let me do this for the community. But one of the things that we realized was that in terms of mentees coming, it wasn't that forthcoming. And I think, right, a lot of the women who wanted to come back to work felt a little bit vulnerable, a one-on-one relationship. And actually, it was from a discussion, a conversation that I had with another woman. She's actually a lawyer, and she runs another woman network called SG Her Empowerment. She said, hey, Ling, why don't you think about, instead of one-on-one, right, why don't you one-to-many, so that it's not so, in your face. And so that's what we did. We discussed this maybe like in February, and through the power of women, we managed, right, to get this up in March. Just, I think, 3 or 4 weeks after we discussed. And so we created something called Friendship Circles, which I talked about just now. Friendship Circles was about one mentor or one coach coming together with a group of women. And you know what? This whole thing, right, became like fire. Essentially, we had 18 women organizations. We had women in construction. We had women, right, in AI. No, these are professional organizations who put up their hands and say, let's do this together to lead the industry, to get the woman confident to come back to the workforce. And now, just in a short 8 months, we have a network of 30,000 women, professional career women. So I believe that this is what female leadership is about. It isn't just about your influence within the organization. It's about your influence in the community. Because women is half of our population. And I believe that women who are comfortable with where they are, you actually have a responsibility to inspire and to ignite that spark in other women within the community itself, to let them know that actually you can also reach for the stars. So this is what I think is all about women leadership.
Thank you so much. Tun Kim.
Sure. In fact, when we talk about women in leadership, I reflected this morning. I'm not sure, I think most of the people attended the session since 10 a.m. I was really hoping to see more women coming up stage, to be in the photos, to be part of the MOU. But I was looking up the stage and I said, where are the women? Agree? So I think we can do a lot more in the space of the diversity of women leadership for sure. And we're talking about culture. So what exactly is culture? Is culture about having posters on the wall in the company? Is it about having words in your website to talk about what your culture is? It is truly about how do your people feel on a Sunday night? Do they feel that, oh my goodness, I'm going into the office on a Monday? Sian. Yep, you just said it, sian. Or, oh no, will my voice be heard? Or what will my colleagues think of me when I put a certain suggestion, right? So to me, very importantly, is culture is about how do your people feel on a Sunday night when they come into the office. You want them to feel appreciated, to be recognized. You want them to feel that their voices are being heard, they are being respected, and they are being able to bring their whole self to work, right? And so this, to me, is really important as a culture. And if we were to inject women leadership, it is actually about diversity, it is about inclusion. And we do not want to just hang the words around us and say, oh, my company practices the diversity and inclusion, but truly, how do you practice that? Well, I'm very blessed to be in an organization, which is IBM, that is truly very hot on diversity and inclusion. And as you can see, on our leadership team, we do values a lot on women leadership. And I think I am an example as to being the general manager of IBM Manufacturing Solutions, being a technology company, as well as in a manufacturing and a supply chain, which is predominantly male-dominated. So I would say is that having women leadership in an organization is absolutely, absolutely important, because we need the voices of the women to be heard. We have the background, we have the experiences, we have the thought process that are very different from men, right? We can bring along a diversity of the thoughts. And I really like what Phyllis talked about, the holistic view. It's all about the wholesome view. We do not want to have a unilateral thoughts when decisions are being made about a company policy. So having a diversity of women leadership would be able to add to that dimension of being able to influence decision-making, as well as to bring up the collaboration, the engagement of not just the men, but certainly the women. So that would be my thoughts.
Excellent. Thanks, Tun Kim. And, thank you, IBM, for, ensuring that you have this diversity policy. And Tun Kim is a great example of the same. In fact, this brings up a particular anecdote. And I know that, we have constraints of time, but I wanted to share with you. I actually know the Google Asia Pacific director, who was actually traveling quite a fair bit because covering Asia Pacific. I think very much a little bit like fun. And I'm going to come to you very soon. And she mentioned about the fact that when she was in the lounge and she was busy working on her laptop, a friendly gentleman, I don't think there was any, intent to be nasty or to be, but he essentially said to her, "Oh, madam, you're very busy." And she looked up and she says, "Yes, I am." Then she says, "Phil, firstly, why are you so busy? You're a woman in a lounge and working so hard. You shouldn't be, right?" So firstly, the misconception. Secondly, when she says, "Oh, you're very busy," are you in HR? Okay. So obviously you're in Google. She's in STEM. She's an engineer. But therein lies the perception, and it is therefore a cultural divide, that there is the immediate, understanding that if you are at the top, you must have this kind of role. So with this, I really want to come over to Fan, who has traveled all the way from Hong Kong. Welcome to Singapore, and thank you so much for making the effort to be part of this panel. So women aren't just, in the back room taking care of human capital. It's very important, but also very much in the engineering, technology, and futuristic space. To this regard, how do you see the women evolving, particularly with the increasing integration of AI, technology, sustainability, and digital transformation in the manufacturing space? So over to you, Fan.
Sure, thank you. And thank you very much. Once I landed in this warm piece of land of Singapore, I already got a lot of welcome. So thank you once again. I guess on the questions, right, I guess what I want to really reflect is really, as Joyce said, right, if we actually flip through the time machine 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right, it would be actually very daunting for female to actually get into very heavy engineering kind of sector, right, because a lot of the muscular power needs to come into place. But I think actually in the past few decades, right, a lot of the business model as well as actually a lot of the technology has actually advanced. And actually a lot of the business decision making has also evolved, which actually allowed a lot more female participation. Of course, still, right, particularly for the manufacturing sector, I think as of today, we're still having less than 30% of female participation, which is something that we need to continue to boost. But I would like to actually give a few examples what we see in Lenovo. Lenovo is actually a very heavy engineering company. Now, we have a lot of products, and hopefully that you have one of our flagship products actually supporting your work. We actually are looking into many of these new product lines and then historically also a sector very dominated by male, right? Because people actually having engineering degrees are typically male. But the good thing is in the past few years, right, a lot more government actually really pushing on STEM education. So now we actually get a lot of girls actually trained with that background. And one of the example that I want to highlight was when we were actually developing AR, VR goggles, right? We actually have a female engineer on the table, actually prompting questions that male colleagues do not naturally ask. And that simple question was, wait a minute, the goggles are very heavy. You sure that people are wanting to actually carry it around? Goggles. Yes, right? And that actually is a very right question to prompt, and that's then actually lead to the product team to actually relook into the whole product design, and because of that, we actually won the Red Dot Award to actually launch the first lightest AR goggle, which is actually about the weight of eyeglasses, right? So therefore, this is actually how some of the new cool technology really comes out. And same thing, right? When I actually standing by the Lenovo booth today, right? When I'm starting to talk about warehouse, about robots, and then people still look into me and say, hey, oh wow, that's actually a girl talking about robots. But the ability to actually really articulate the business nature and why technology can actually help to actually give a different ROI are actually areas that female are very good at. And so I think these are actually some of the new dimensions that I can see female increasingly piling through a lot of the new energy, new thoughts, and new thinking into the ecosystem, and actually allow a lot more wider participation. I think one thing that I also want to echo, Ling, is that sometimes we female possibly would just need more female leaders to look into. And so therefore we can believe that we can actually make it happen. And so it's very fortunate to be actually on the stage with so many great leaders to actually really inspiring the next. And which actually then also talk about another program that in Lenovo that we are actually very into. Just now we talk about mentoring program. Beyond mentoring program, Lenovo actually are also very core on pushing some of the trainings. So to a certain extent, we are actually asking the females to actually also take on these active trainings, which is a program that we launched called EDGE. Start with education. So we need to be taught, okay? And then D is development. And then when you develop further, then you grow, and lastly, you excel. And by the way, once you graduate from the program, you were being invited back to actually share what you have actually gone through and therefore train the next generation. And we are really hopeful that these kind of programs can actually continue to actually support the female ecosystem to actually look into each other and learn from each other and actually grow our participation.
You know, I love speaking with other females because it gives me a lot of ideas, a lot of insights and thinking. As I'm sitting here, I know I'm talking out of turn, but I feel that I need to say something to what Fan you had said because it inspired me to think about one issue. Part of the programming today is also, I'm very sure, has AI component to it. And actually, I also was at an ASME event yesterday, and it was about AI. Actually, I wonder, you know, in that whole spiel about you talking about training, about influencing, about making sure that we have female leadership and all that. AI is actually, it doesn't exist by itself. AI needs to come with inputs from human beings. And actually, I'm just wondering, who is doing that input? Is it guys that is doing the inputs? Because this is going to actually reveal itself in the way that the AI answers you and does problem solving. I actually think, right, that the manufacturing industry needs to do something. You need to look at what are your inputs within your AI, because the training is not just person-to-person training anymore. It is one-to-many training because of AI. And I believe that the female voice needs to be inside there. And I want to leave this thought because actually I think it's something that we really need to look into, ladies. Yeah, okay.
Wonderful, thank you. Indeed, I just wanted to circle back to say congratulations, Lenovo, for winning an award because you listened to a woman's question. So I think both to Wan Ling's point and to Fan's point, indeed, this morning when we had the presentation as well, we recognized that if we are moving towards Industry 5.0, we are really talking about the humanistic element. So in this, I absolutely agree that it's a timely reminder which is the human voice you are listening to. And I think this plays to the strength of women, not only because of the nurturing, holistic perspectives, not only because of the fact that we are looking for the well-being of the user or the fellow employee, but I think also because of the fact that women, and I know there may be those here who may disagree, but women tend to be the quiet observer in the room. And the reason why I say this is in the male-dominated boardroom, it is hard to be that quiet voice, but it is a necessary voice. And in the madness of the stress to come up with decisions quickly, sometimes the quiet observer, who may be the woman in the room, would actually have the solution or the pertinent questions. I'm with Wan Ling in the sense that what was really fascinating about this particular panel, and I have to say this, I know, is that even as we were talking to each other, in the very few seconds that we got to meet Fan, and even in our little prep coming up to this, I loved Wan Ling's answer to me when I said, hey, you know, I'm taking care of you. Her response to me, we are sisters. And immediately during the very quick introduction already to Fan, she said, you know, let's think about getting together. Let's have coffee. Joyce was saying, yeah, and Phyllis was busy working, which we completely understand. Sisters work too, you know. But we were like, hey, must remember to bring in Phyllis, okay? And we have this coffee time together. Not coffee for no reason. We're all busy working women. But because of the fact that we recognize there is a dynamic group and there's something here that we need to share. So,
Audrey, this is our
yes.
friendship circle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly how it is. Okay, now I just want to circle back to, second generation, the question of second generation leadership. And the two representatives on this panel are Phyllis and Joyce, right? You are both second generation leaders, taking over from very dynamic fathers, I presume. And so it's useful for us to understand what are the best practices to apply when you're looking at an organization like this to ensure continuity and growth. And I don't want to just come from the perspective of because you're a woman, but really because you are a leader. I want to phrase that question that way and say, what is it that you have done, particularly in the context of manufacturing? So maybe this time we'll have Phyllis start.
I think this is always, I have spoken to many of my friends who are also family business owners, and especially when I talk to the daughters, right, the female, I found that there's a lot of dialogue that as daughters, as, people who choose to play a leadership role in family business, we need to have that kind of one-to-one, good quality dialogue with our parents. And this kind of dialogue can be quite sensitive, but I found that one of my biggest personal growth is being able to play the role of both the daughter, but more importantly, the business owner who's going to take over, what they have built. So I think in the area of having heart-to-heart business conversation or heart-to-heart conversation, I find this could be an area where it breaks a lot of paradigm, in some ways, because sometimes, like it or not, it's not that the parents want to make things difficult, but they know what they know, they did what they did, they do what they do, right? And that ability for us to listen as daughter, the ability for us to listen as also coming from an empathetic kind of angle, actually, yeah, in the family, right? It really, I think it made the business stronger, and the impact it had on our staff. When the staff see that, I think we're all human, right? Right, regardless of whatever role that we play in the organization, when they see the harmony and that's the ability for the second generation to take over effectively, it gives them a lot of confidence in this organization. So frankly, I didn't intend to stay in manufacturing because it wasn't my natural call. And we're selling foam and rubber and film and all these things, which honestly also not very sexy, you know. Yeah. But
Actually, it sounds sexy.
yeah, but I learned a lot. It was an opportunity for me to embrace, and now I know enough technical areas to be a salesman for the organization, and it gave me a lot of possibilities for growth. And again, because they see my pain and they see my growth, my staff also continue to stay with me to say, hey, you know, if I can grow, they can grow, and we can make it together. So I think that for family businesses, one of the most important and area that we can grow as also a leader is that kind of conversation we have with the founders and our parents. Yeah, and okay, so I'm very proud now. This part I'm very proud. If any of you face issues on this, I think I can help. I have done a lot of arbitration of this. Yeah, please, and there are a lot of experts here, you know, who are also very good at it. Not only me, but I feel that this kind of skill set to arbitrate, because we have gone through the journey, right, can help other taukes and other second generation businesses, right? Whether son or daughter or cousin or whatever, right? I think these are skill sets that we can share, right? So, you know, over to you, Joyce.
Okay, thanks, Phyllis. So for mine, it's also maintaining family harmony in a family business. Because there's no point we earn the money and after that the family goes into disputes. I've seen some cases of that. It's really sad. So you can see how important it is when Phyllis and I both echo the same points. So I think the key to maintaining family harmony are a few points. One, learn to agree to disagree. Instead of just expecting juniors to simply obey the seniors, whether in the family or organization, that applies across the board, men or women. Be a strong listener. Be firm, yet open to admit when wrong. It's important to know when to pivot when things are not going your way. Don't insist on that decision that's wrong. So 4, mediate when necessary. Like Phyllis arbitrate, I mediate, it's the same. So if family members or staff have any disputes, so be nurturing and be a good mentor. I've heard the mentor word echo across the board earlier. And the last point, I feel, is to pay attention and focus on things that other members in the business may have neglected or not pay attention to, maybe no prior knowledge. So example, sustainability. Singapore, you know, will require all listed firms to make climate-related disclosures from financial year 2025, followed by large non-listed firms 2 years later. So even those smaller SMEs like us are not required by regulations to make these reports, but SMEs who serve global customers or listed companies will need to do sustainability reports as we are the scope 3 for our customers. So to grow the business, we need to focus on sustainability initiatives and do a sustainability roadmap. Else customers will just have to select from other suppliers who have started their sustainability journey. I find this is very important. It's like the cost of not doing so. Yeah. So I'm on the HP Queen Bee program for sustainable manufacturing, where the HP team comprising of engineers, managers, and directors share their sustainability knowledge and work on a proof of concept with us. Partners in this Queen Bee program like MVPC, Company of Good, they facilitate, provide sustainability insights, and also rope in other institutions such as Singapore Polytechnic and IPI. So IPI is a government agency that helps accelerate innovation processes for companies through access to its global innovation ecosystem and advisory services. The goal of such programs is to uplift SMEs. So for SMEs who want to get started more in innovation, grow, sustainability, you can reach out for these companies, institutions. So I attend all the HP Queen Bee programs personally with my team because I think it's important to have a top management approach of sustainability. It's not a one-person job, as it covers, there are many aspects to a full sustainability report, and new requirements are evolving regularly. So if you wish to start your sustainability journey but do not know how to approach SMF, they have sustainability starter programs for you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joyce. And indeed, we are all plumbing for the sustainability program of SMF. If you don't know what that is, please visit the SMF booth. Please speak to Dennis, our CEO, and there are many of our members represented here who, okay, today they're not wearing, if you came to my Christmas jingle and mingle, I'll say, look for the one with the hats. But today they don't have the Christmas hats, so look out for them. Indeed. Indeed, of course, NTUC is very prominent here today. But given the constraints of time, and I know that, we've really backed up in terms, but I love the sharing. I think it's been wonderful that each of you has articulated, your points so clearly. With the constraints of time, so in 30 seconds or less, I'm just going to go a round robin here. Could each of you, in one sentence, summarize your advice or key takeaway to manufacturing companies looking to attract, retain, or empower more women? So over to you, starting with Ling.
Of course, I need to promote flexible work arrangements. And in that aspect, there was actually in our tripartite work group, there was actually an R behind. So it's not just flexible work arrangements, it's flexible work arrangement requests. Because every person's caregiving journey, every woman's work journey is actually unique. And therefore, it cannot be a one-size-fits-all, like everybody, 4 days at the workplace, one day at home. It doesn't really work. I think, in order to retain caregivers and women, you need to be able to have a conversation with the woman employee to understand what exactly is it they need, and so that you can actually tailor that flexible work arrangements to what they need to have to make sure that they continue to serve you in the organization.
Thanks so much. In fact, I just wanted to support that because I want to echo and underscore what you presented earlier. Singapore alone, 260,000 women who are employable are not in the workforce. If this little action can make a difference, right, please do so. As I said, we want this conversation to go beyond what is here on the panel. So next, Phyllis, over to you.
Well, for me, it's really as simple sometimes as just declaring the intention and kickstart with initiatives. Do something, take some action, and then grow and evolve from there. So declare the intention, kickstart with the initiative, and let it roll.
Thank you. Let it roll.
I would say that be the organization who will help to amplify the voice of your woman, and at the same time create the space for them to take the stage. And importantly is create that mentorship. I think we talk a lot about the mentorship. I truly believe that mentoring is very important. You probably heard this sentence about to know the road ahead, ask those who are coming back. So talk to mentors, and get into a community who will support you in terms of you are able to share your experiences and you are able to celebrate your wins together. I think having women to support women, women to advance women, as well as having our men to be our ally would be the most ideal case too.
Thank you. Yes, Fan.
So I need to actually steal one more slot because I wanted to give 2 sentences. One is a don't. Don't do diversity just for checking the box.
Correct.
But then the do, right? I think is everyone actually really need to live with the spirit and actually also the action to actually drive diversity. For that, I actually need to refer back to my boss sitting on the stage, Amma Babu. He's the one who keep on coming to me. When are you hiring your next female talent to your team? So thank you for that.
Thank you. Joyce.
Okay, so for me, it's give women equal opportunities to lead, provide flexibility with FWA arrangements. Women need to balance family duties. So having this flexibility will help them cope better. And I think you'll find that they'll take up the responsibility and deliver their tasks very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can see the applause is coming in, so that's excellent. Everybody agrees and echoes with you. So I think just a very, very quick recap, all right, especially for those who were not listening and standing at the back. Firstly, flexi work, mustn't forget that. See one Ling, think flexi work, okay? Secondly, be bold, roll with it. Mentorship and creating communities, not creating just communities of women, but men supporting women and women supporting women. I think that's what inclusivity is. And having diversity is not a checkbox or a tick box, but indeed having a spirit of action. So with these power words from these women, I think it leaves me to invite all of you to thank me, to thank them in the usual fashion. Please join me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Audrey, for being a wonderful moderator.
Thank you, panelists. Panelists, please remain on stage. I'd like to invite Mr. Lennon Tan, President of the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, back to the stage to present tokens of appreciation to all of our panelists and our moderator. All right, let's get a group photo with all of our panelists and our moderator as well, with Mr. Tan. Thank you very much. Are we taking one more photo? I believe we are. I think our panelists are doing a Wi-Fi. Everyone in the audience, you are captured in this photo, it seems like, so go ahead and give them a big smile.